Hello, and welcome to my webinar, 5 Ingredients to a Rock Solid Mindset, Mental Toughness 101. I am super excited to have you on this today and excited to share all of these amazing things that you will learn. One of the main things that I tell my clients is that any fitness and health plan is 80% nutrition, 20% exercise, and most of us know that, right? But the part that we usually skip out on is that none of the 80% or 20% is possible unless we have a rock solid mindset to be able to push us through and do the tough things and make the hard decisions. So today, let's just dive right in, and I will go over some 5 key ingredients. You will be able to apply these today and get results starting now. So these are definitely going to be things that you're just going to be able to start implementing and working on, and this is going to be a big first step for you. So just wanted to let you know a little bit about me. Coach Jules, I own a gym in Holton, Kansas, Rhino Fitness. I don't know if you're local to Kansas, then you might want to stop in and say hi. I am an ACE certified personal and group trainer instructor. So I also have a weight management specialty and a fitness nutrition specialty. So that's just kind of some of the credentials. I'll tell you a little bit more about kind of my story. I always tell people that I am my first success story. So all of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you, not only have I learned, but I've also implemented and used for myself to bring my own personal fitness and lifestyle to another level. So that's a little bit about me, and now let's just get right into it. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the meat of the webinar. Go ahead and turn off your phones and get rid of any other distractions. You're going to want to really be able to focus on this webinar and all of the things that I have to offer in it. So just take this 60 minutes and please dedicate the full 60 minutes, but remove any distractions so that you can just focus on what we're going to be talking about this next 60 minutes. Also, have a pen and paper ready to take notes. I do have an ebook on this as well, and the ebook lists the different steps and gives some different action steps that you can actually take to apply that to you, but it doesn't have everything that I'm going to talk about in this webinar. So there's still going to be some things that you're probably going to want to take notes on, and I'll also talk to you a little bit later about how you can access that ebook. If you have questions, please send them. Let me see if I can activate this highlighter here. Please send them to this email address, jules@junkyardfit.com. I check these on a daily basis, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have along the way. So make notes, star any questions, do whatever you need to do to remind yourself that you had a question on something, and then shoot me an email and I'll get back to you. All right, let's jump right in. So the first ingredient, I'm probably going to guess that you did not expect embrace failure to be ingredient number 1 to a rock solid mindset, but that is ingredient 1. You have to embrace failure. I love this picture with this little guy just laying there like, oh, it's either I'm done or I failed, I couldn't get it done. So I'm not really sure, but that look on his face and laying flat on his back looking up is just a really great image for this theme of embracing failure. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to change our definition of failure. We have to change how we look at the word fail. So here's your new definition for the word fail. First attempt in learning. Write that down. That is your new definition for the word fail. Your first attempt in learning. We generally tend to look at things that are failures in a negative light. But if we really step back and look at it, we always fail, right? The first time, sometimes the second time, sometimes the third time. it takes us more than once to get something right. And every single time that we fail, we can either beat ourselves up about it. And if we beat ourselves up, how much better are we going to be? If we're down on ourselves, then how are we going to be able to learn from the event that just happened? And how are we going to be able to get up and try again? So if we look at a fail instead of a negative light, if we look at it as, okay, that was my first attempt in learning. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, what did I do right? What are the good things that I want to take away from this that I want to maybe repeat? And then I'm going to look at, okay, what went wrong and what actually caused it not to succeed? And then I'm going to go again, always get up and go again. The best way that I like to look at this, if we think back to when we were little, we were children, because then all of the worldly views weren't already part of our being. Like right now, in whatever age you're at, you've had experiences, you've had other people's opinions, you've had other influences to say how something is supposed to be, which is one of the reasons why we think of fail as a bad thing. But when we were younger, when we were little, we didn't really have all of that yet. And so we just went with our gut, we went with our instincts and with our heart. So think back to when you were a little kid, and the first time that you tried to walk, you probably stood up, took a few steps, right? And then you fell. And what did you do immediately after you fell? I mean, if it hurt, if it was a hard fall, you probably sat there and cried for a little bit. But for the most part, 9 times out of 10, when kids fall down the first time, they immediately jump back up, pick themselves back up, and they try it again without even thinking. They don't sit there and think, oh, I failed. That was awful. I didn't get it done. I can't do this. And that's the way we kind of tend to see failures. So we need to change that thinking and, okay, that was my first attempt at learning. I didn't make it. Get right back up and go again. The first time that you tried to tie your shoes, did you master it? Did you just get it? You just got them tied and that was it? And you didn't have any learning curve, any, oh, I didn't do that right, or, oh, I need to switch that? What about driving a car? Or toilet training, and especially if you're a guy, you probably missed the first time or two. Maybe you still miss sometimes, but we won't talk about that. But the first time, the second time, the third time that we do something, most of the time we're not going to get it right. If you fall down and you don't ever get back up, how far are you going to get in that race? Are you ever going to make the finish line? So we have to make sure that we're not wallowing in it, that we're not thinking, oh, I'm awful, I can't do this, but that we're looking at, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And we're getting back up and we're going again. So go back to your childlike thinking and just get back up. Just say, okay, yep, that didn't work. Try again. I'm going to challenge you to fail forward. Time and time again, you need to fail forward. Now, this isn't, I'm not, wanting your failure or wishing for your failures. Remember, we're thinking of fail in a different light. If we're scared of failure, we don't ever take that first step because we look at fail as something bad, something that could happen, that could go wrong. If we look at it as, okay, this is my first attempt in learning, then we're going to take that step onto that stone that doesn't quite look that stable, and we're going to fall into that dark pit of water every time that we make the wrong move, or every time we need to readjust, or every time we're learning. And then we're going to climb back up, and we're just going to keep going until we finally get to the other side or get to our destination. So you want to fail forward. Let failure be your teacher, not your undertaker. It's a delay, it's not defeat. It's a temporary detour, not an end, a dead-end street. And that's the way that we need to look at failure. So look at what you've done right. Look at what you've done wrong. Don't redo what you did wrong. Make sure that you go forward with what you've done right and you change some of the things that you did wrong, but always get up and start again. Always look at that fail as a first attempt in learning. So that's ingredient 1. Ingredient 2, confidence. There's a couple of different parts to confidence, and confidence is a huge, huge part of this, that without doing this step, these 2 steps in this next order that I give you, you're not going to get very far with it. So confidence is also one of the main things whenever I talk to my clients. That's one of the main struggles that they have. That's one of the main struggles I have, guys, is with confidence, with having that clear knowledge that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or I have the right answers, or I have the tools, or I actually can do this. But confidence is crucial to any success that we're going to have in anything in life. All right, 2 parts of confidence. Part first. I said part first for a reason. You have to do this part before anything else will work. This part has to come first. This part cannot come later, okay? You have to love yourself first. Who you are, where you're at now, every single part of you. It's okay to have wants. It's okay to have little things that, okay, you want to change about yourself. But guys, this is the deal. Our brains are wired. They're hardwired to protect ourselves. Okay, so think about it. Anytime you get too close to a hot stove, what happens? Your brain sends a signal to your body, pulls your hand away, protects you from getting burned. Okay, that also works with our mentality. So if you don't love yourself, if you are negative about yourself, your brain is going to start protecting you, from that language. It's going to start sending stressors to put your body in protection mode. You're going to increase your hormone levels. You're going to increase the cortisol levels. Your metabolism is going to slow down. And guess what? All of the goals that you're striving for with health and fitness are going to be fighting against you. Because when cortisol levels and hormone levels and low metabolism happen, then we absorb fat and we store fat and we don't have energy and we're not feeling good. So you need to love yourself first. And I'll talk about some of the different things that we can start telling ourselves, some of the different ways that we can word things in a couple of the later slides. But make sure that the first thing that you're doing is you're loving yourself, every single thing about you. Part of this comes with being you, unapologetically. So a little bit about this slide. Yes, that's me. Well, the bottom half of me anyway. And I am notorious for wearing fun socks with flip-flops. There's an actual reason that I wear socks with flip-flops that is logical, but that doesn't matter at this point. It's been a few years now, and this is kind of my trademark. So I do almost everything except for the mud runs with socks and flip-flops. And that's part of who I am. Guys, something very important to realize here. You have to be you because everybody else is taken. Think about that. You have to be you because everybody else is already taken. And this is the other part of this. If you aren't you, there's a lot of gifts. There's a purpose that is only meant for you, that you are the only one can bring that to others, to your family, to your friends, to your coworkers, to anybody's life that you might come in contact with. You are the only one that can bring those gifts. And if you're too busy looking at someone else, wanting to be like someone else, trying to copy what someone else is doing, comparing yourself to somebody else, then you are taking your personal gifts away from the world. Because number 3, no one else can be you. So if you aren't you, you've taken you away from the world. Now, granted, you have to love you before you can realize the importance of this. But this is extremely important. Unapologetically, whatever it is about you, whatever your quirks are, whatever your laughs are, whatever your personality is, that's what you need to embrace, and that's what you need to be every day. Okay, the next part of confidence is to believe in yourself. So, read this quote along with me. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's an amazing quote from Henry Ford, who did some amazing things and went against a lot of different beliefs of him not being able to do something to prove that he could, and he did. So really take a minute and think about that. It's all about what you're thinking. If you're thinking you can do it, then you will be able to do it. If you're thinking that you can't do it, then you're not going to be able to do it. So it's all up to you. You have complete control and complete power. Taking a look at this picture and belief in yourself, this little kitten is visualizing what's deep inside its heart. So if we were to visualize and picture what's deep inside our heart, what we truly know that we are, who we truly know that we are, then that's what we need to picture, that's what we need to visualize, and then that's what we will become, is whatever you're visualizing, whatever you're focusing on. That's what your end game will end up being, is wherever your focus is. So not everybody is going to be a strong white tiger, because that's not what is in everybody's heart. That's not what everybody's purpose is. So make sure that when you're picturing this image, you're not picturing an image of what somebody else is like. So if you're 5'3", don't be picturing some 6 foot tall, slender, lanky bodied person, because that's never going to be you. So we always have to go back to the loving of ourselves, and then we do the next part of believing in ourselves, of having that image of who we want to be and what we want to be. One of the best ways that I can relay to you the whole process of thinking that you can or thinking that you can't is with my struggle with monkey bars. So I am into these obstacle races and absolutely love doing them. It always hasn't been easy, and one of the biggest struggles for me was getting across the monkey bars, which is just something you have to do in pretty much every race that you undertake. So holding myself up there and then getting the rhythm of swinging, and it was just something that really, really scared me, and I'm not sure exactly why. But it did. So one of the trainers and one of the people that runs the races with me, he was coaching me through and trying to help figure out what my issue was with the monkey bars. And there was a few things. So I get up there and I hang, and I felt heavy and clumsy and just really not good. Okay. And that was every time I would get up there. So I'd make it like two bars down. It was quite embarrassing. And then I would drop. And so I was frustrated, and I said, what am I doing wrong? And so now this trainer, I love training with him because he completely calls me out on my shit all the time. And we always need somebody that's going to just be brutally honest in a loving way with us, right? And so he said, well, one, you're a clumsy oaf when you do them. You're just clunking along. And that's exactly the way I felt. I felt like I weighed 10,000 pounds. It was awful. And he said, two, I read your lips and you said, I can't do this. I was like, oh, you caught that, huh? And he said, three, you look down. So the monkey bars are up here, and we have with ours, if you haven't been to my gym, with ours we have a flat, and then it goes up, and then another flat, and then it goes down. And so still just on the flat, you have to be looking up. And I was going one, and then I'd look down, because that's where I knew I was going to end up, was down. So those three things, and the whole reason that I was a clumsy oaf on them and clunky and heavy was because of the later two of saying that I can't, and of looking down instead of up. So I started practicing, and I'm not saying that, just because I said I could, now all of a sudden I was able to do all these crazy things. No, you have to put the work in. But it has to start with believing that you can do it. So once I started practicing, I can do this, I can do this. And I started learning the rhythm, bringing my knees up and using the bicycle technique. And then just looking from one bar to the next, to the next, to the next. And then when it started to go up, I struggled again, and I would have to force myself up and look at the next. When I started in that process, started with the first, I can do this. I started visualizing in my head. I would lay down and visualize me actually doing it and getting the whole way. So that was the next part of it, was visualizing the end game, the success, the results, me having success at it and being able to do it. And then looking up and taking the proper steps in order to get through them. And now finally I can master the monkey bars, the rings, the all sorts of different things. And I've noticed that whenever I tend to fail at something, whenever I don't achieve it, whenever I don't do it or don't perform to the best of my ability, I realize that 9 times out of 10, I'm not thinking that I can. But when I perform at my peak and I amaze myself and do these crazy things that I turn around and I'm like, oh, I just did that. It's because I was thinking that I could the whole time anyway. So be sure that your head is in the right space of thinking that you can instead of thinking that you can't. Believe in yourself. All right, so let's go into ingredient 3, adaptability. This is really huge. We have to expect the unexpected. We have to be prepared for the curves and the bumps. And you can't fully prepare for the curves and the bumps because you don't know exactly how sharp they're going to be or how big they're going to be or even when they're going to come. But to be prepared, you just have to be able to go with the flow. Not expect a straight road. And look at the curves and the bumps as adventures, as journeys, as challenges, as obstacles that you have to figure out how to overcome so that you can still make it to the finish line. So if you read this quote, straight roads do not make skillful drivers. This is absolutely so 100% true. Because if you don't ever have a curve in the road, how are you ever going to know how to maneuver that? If nothing ever happens to you, how are you going to be prepared for life and for things? And how boring would a straight road be? I'm sorry, but I'm the type that I think the straight roads are boring. So we have to look at it that way as well, and look at it as, okay, yeah, this is going to be challenging, interesting, and super fun. Let's go. And take every day of life, the good, the bad, the ugly, take it just like this. When life puts unexpected curves or bumps in your path, when that happens, because it happens, how do you tackle that? So a lot of times what I see, especially in the fitness business, is someone commits to coming into the gym, commits to eating right, commits to this new program and this new way of lifestyle, and then all of a sudden they get seriously sick, or their kids get sick. Or let's say that you jump in and invest in a brand new car that you've always wanted that's really kind of expensive, and then you lose your job. These things seem to follow us, and they seem to just happen. Not really sure why, but studies and past history has proven that that just kind of seems to be the case. When you start picking yourself up, something else is going to knock you down. But how do we look at that? Most of the time we can't control those obstacles that get put in our way or get thrown at us, or the brick that just comes plowing at us and we don't even see it coming until smack and we're flat on our backs. But what we can control is what we do with that after it happens. We can control if we stay on our backs and admit defeat because we got hit square in the jaw and we didn't see it coming, or we can stay on our backs long enough to find our way up and to find our way around it and to find our way through the challenge so that we can be better for the next time. We can look at the curves and the bumps as an adventure in the journey that we're taking, or we can look at the curves and the bumps as things that are thrown at us to defeat us. It's all in how you look at it, because guys, the curves and the bumps are going to happen. The unexpected things are going to happen. Sometimes we're going to see it coming, we're going to be able to dodge it. Other times we're not going to see it coming and it's going to knock us flat. We always have to be prepared to get back up and find the strength to get back up. And that's all in how we think about that curve or that bump. Something about expectations, right? So read this with me. This is your new daily quote. I've given you a few of those today, haven't I? But this is one that I definitely want you to start saying every day, every instance, every moment. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I love it. And I love it. Whenever you put that "and I love it" in there, it just automatically puts a positive spin on things, because you can say, I have no idea what's going to happen. That's a little different, right? I have a business coach who's helped me through, so much. And anytime I would have bad things going on or issues that I was dealing with, I would say something and, well, this isn't going my way. And she would say, and I'm like, seriously? Because she wanted me to say, and I love it. So this is combating against me, and this computer program isn't working, and I don't seem to have time to do anything because my kids are pulling at me, and there's too many events going on in my life right now, and I can't focus on business and the events, and I'm about to go crazy. And I love it. And when I put that "and I love it" at the end of it, it changed the whole connotation of what I was saying, because yes, my life could be completely boring. I could have so much time on my hands that I wouldn't know what to do with. And that wouldn't be as great, would it? So make sure that all of the struggles, all of the negativities, all of the whatevers you add, "and I love it." Okay, so that was a little bit of a side note. So I have no idea what's going to happen, and I love it. So we embrace every opportunity, every day, every new step as a new adventure, and we don't expect anything. Now, there's a huge difference between not expecting things and working for great things, okay? And the best way that I can explain this difference is with this analogy. So I'm going to have two different stories here. So the first way is with expectations. So let's say that I come in and I am expecting to lose 10 pounds. And I'm going to start an exercise program, and I'm going to start a nutrition plan, and I'm going to expect to lose 10 pounds. That's what I expect of myself. That's what I expect of my trainer. That's what I expect of my program, and I'm not going to take anything else. And I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to have that goal. So then when I get to the end of the month and I go into the weigh-in and I lost 7 pounds, what's the reaction? It doesn't matter that I lost 7 pounds. It doesn't matter that I implemented new healthy eating habits. It doesn't matter that I am stronger and faster and feel better physically because I implemented an exercise program. None of that matters because I didn't meet my expectation. And the other side of that is when you put that much expectations on yourself and you put pressure on yourselves, and this also goes for anybody else for that matter, if you're putting expectations on other people to be certain ways, do certain things, say certain things, then the pressure of those expectations actually causes the opposite reaction. Because there's too much pressure, there's too much stress, and then instead of just enjoying the journey and working for the things that we're wanting to get to, then we create all sorts of stress and negativity around it, and then that actually fights against it. So am I saying be lazy, don't expect anything, don't have any goals? No, not at all. There's a difference. This is the other way of doing it. Are we ready? So I still have that end goal of losing 10 pounds, and I'm still going to come into the gym, and I'm still going to get the nutrition program and implement the right eating habits, and I'm still going to work towards that goal of losing 10 pounds. But I'm going to be happy with the outcome no matter what that is. I'm going to be happy if I lose the 10 pounds. I'm going to be happy if I don't lose the 10 pounds because I'm going to focus on the journey. I'm going to focus on learning the nutrition habits. I'm going to focus on getting an exercise routine. I'm going to focus on getting stronger and healthier and better for myself. I'm going to focus on why I'm doing it. So yes, my goal is 10 pounds, but no matter what the actual outcome is, no matter how close I get to that goal, I'm still going to be happy because I'm doing all of these steps and I know that these steps are good for me. So then I get to that end of the month and I lose 7 pounds, and yes, I lost 7 pounds. But then I can also look at it and I can say, okay, well, I really wanted to lose 10. I wonder if there's some ways that I can step it up so maybe I can get 10 the next time. And then I'm going to get right back and I'm going to work for it again because I'm not down about anything. I'm super excited. I just lost 7 pounds. And if I lose the whole 10, then I'm extremely excited because I just lost 10 pounds. And then I get to rejoice and embrace that success. Do you see the difference? Guys, life is all in how we look at it. It's amazing how much our brain controls everything else around us. And it's really important that we stop putting so much pressure and expectations on ourselves, that we stop looking at failure as a negative thing, that we stop looking at how we are, what's happening in our lives as a bad thing, and that we start embracing the journey that we're on, embracing every new obstacle as another adventure that we get to take, as another growing point that we get to learn through. Because when we do that, then we start getting those goals. We start getting to those amazing points that we've never realized that we could see before. Ingredient 4, courage. This is the ingredient that it takes to implement all of the other things. If you look back at it, in order to look at fail in a different light, in order to change our belief system around that and to change that into first attempt in learning, we have to be courageous enough to step out of what we know and to step out of our comfort zone and to start to look at it differently. In order to love ourselves and have confidence and express who we are, how we are, quirks and all, we have to have courage in order to be able to do that, to believe in ourselves and see that tiger inside of us. We have to be able to have courage, and the courage is what pushes us to be able to do that. So courage is honestly the base for all of this. But why didn't I talk about courage first? Well, because you have to have love for yourself. You have to understand that, okay, fail is a first attempt in learning, and you have to have that belief in yourself before you can even think about courage. Because when we're living in fear, when we're living in negativity, then courage cannot be present. So, number 4, courage. And this is a big one. So this picture here, difficult doesn't mean impossible. It simply means that you have to work hard. So you have this little guy with these boxing gloves, and he's got this big, huge speed bag in front of him, and you can see the determination. Guys, look at his posture. It might be a little girl. I'm really not sure, but we're going to say it to him. Look at his posture. Is he slunched down? And think about yourself when you're feeling defeated already. You're slunched down, your head's down, you're just kind of straight-faced and just kind of, right? And just sitting like this, I feel defeated. Courage cannot be present. So, shoulders back, head up, ready. He's ready, right? When I was on the monkey bars, failing the first few times, I was slunched over. I didn't have the right posture. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to tackle it. So you have to be ready to tackle it. So that's the other big part about this picture. It's not just the words that difficult doesn't mean impossible. It's the way he's standing, the way he's ready to go after this next obstacle. One way to develop courage is to constantly do things that scare you. If we're on the edge of the cliff, that's solid ground, man, if you ask me. I go crazy on heights and different things like that. Butterflies in the stomach. I start breathing hard. I'm like, no, not me. Somebody has to push me off, right? And that's the way we are with life, with a lot of things. We get comfortable. I'm comfortable here, right? But guys, this is the thing. Before you can get comfortable, you always have to have the courage to do it the first time. Before you try something the first time, do you know what it's like? Do you know how to prepare? Do you know what you need to do? No. You're not comfortable until you've done it over and over and over again. You're not comfortable until you have years of experience, years of living that way. And so what I'm challenging you to do is to constantly get out of your comfort zone, to constantly push yourself to that next level. If making a phone call to somebody that you don't know or a stranger to be able to help them is something that makes you uncomfortable, then do it. If walking into the gym for the first time, not knowing anybody, not knowing how to use the equipment, not knowing what to do makes you uncomfortable, then do it. Take that first step. Walk through the door. Walk right out. I don't care. But you got to take that first step and you got to walk through that door and you got to do that first thing that scares you. And then guess what? You do it again. And then each time that you do it, it's a little bit less scary. But if we just stay on the cliff and watch, do we get to experience the thrill of what that's like to jump off and of what we experience when we get to the bottom, when we get to the water, to that cool, refreshing, fun water? We won't get to experience the joys until we have the courage to take the tough steps. I'd like to share my story with you. My story used to honestly consume me. I really didn't ever believe that I would be more than my past or different from my past until the past couple of years when I've had a coach to help me see things and look at things and appreciate what my past meant and everything that I endured and went through. So I want to start with the picture here. I love this picture. Kind of looks like me. Crazy hair, wide eyes, really staring intently at himself. You read the first part. Some people are afraid of what they might find if they try to analyze themselves too much. Okay, we need to stop there and take a moment, because if you analyze yourself too much in an unloving way, if you nitpick yourself, pick yourself apart, then it's not healthy and it's not good, and that's not what I'm saying at all. But if you analyze yourself in the way of crawling into your wounds, discovering where your fears are, discovering what really is there, good, bad, and the ugly, looking at it, seeing it for what it is, calling your fears out on their shit. Because once the bleeding starts, that's when the cleansing can begin, and only once the bleeding starts. But it has to be in a loving, caring way. My story that I'm sharing only in hopes that it can reach you in a positive way, because it doesn't have control over me anymore. I grew up in an abusive home, both physically and mentally. It took a big toll on me. I have pretty much had zero self-esteem, no confidence. The physical wasn't quite so much. That was more of just a fear of if I act out, then something's going to happen. I was more of the protector, more of the caregiver, more of the pleaser in the family. And so I didn't get as much of the physical, but it was always there as a threat. Better stay in line or else it was coming. And so I was always reserved. I was always stuffing myself and who I really was down because it could bring out anger. The mental is probably the worst, and that's where the negative self-talk constantly would just be ringing like a broken record in the back of my head that I didn't even realize was playing for the longest time. You aren't good enough. You're no one special. You can't do these things. You're worthless. Stop being a crusader. Stop trying to help people, because that was always in my nature, because you can't make a difference. I love you, but. I love you, but you drive me crazy. I love you, but you're fat. I love you, but you don't have what it takes. I love you, but you're never going to amount to anything. You're not smart enough. You name it, it was there. And it was constant. I had bad relationships with food because I would not eat because I constantly thought, well, I'm fat. because I would see at the dinner table, if my mother would go for that second helping of food, my father would, "Are you sure you need that second helping?" Things like that, just the subliminal messages. So relationship with food was bad. Relationship with myself was bad. Not having the courage to stand up for what I believed. Guys, it turned out in the end, I just wanted to be loved and accepted and appreciated. And isn't that what we all want in the end? But in order to do that, because I really believed that I was worthless and I wasn't good enough to be loved and accepted and appreciated as I was, who I was, because I needed to stifle that down, because that always brought anger out. So when I moved away and went off on my own, military, wonderful for fixing a lot of things, but it didn't fix that. I modeled my life after people that I thought had perfect lives. Okay, well, she has the husband and the kids and the house and the job, and I want to be a good person. I want to be lovable. So that's what I need to do. So then I would model myself after who I thought I needed to in order to be lovable. This is the kicker with that. It's not sustainable, because you have your own unique purpose, as we talked about before. And if you're trying to live someone else's purpose, it's going to end. It's going to end. You're not going to be able to continue to do it, because it's not your purpose. It's not genuine and natural to you. So how do you overcome that negative self-talk, whether it came from years of mental abuse like mine did, or whether it's just negative self-talk that you have because of past failures or past regrets or what ifs, or maybe I should have, or things that you don't quite like about yourselves. So my coach gave me a very good exercise, and I'm going to give it to you now. You're going to take a sheet of paper, okay? Let's see. Take a sheet of paper. See if you can see this. Draw a line down the middle of it, okay? On one side of the paper, you're going to write down all of your fears, your negative self-talks, the things that you've heard, the failures that you've had, the things you need to analyze yourself. You're going to look at these things, the things that you don't think you like, the things that other people don't like. This is the important part right here. After you analyze yourself, crawl into your wounds, figure out what those things are, look at them. You're going to call them out on their shit. Remember that friend that I said that it's always great to have somebody that's going to call you out on your shit in love to make you better and to help you? That's what you're going to do right here. So your next thing is to write down why this is bullshit. You have to do that step, because then you're going to have a whole list of positive affirmations that you can say to yourself every day to give yourself that confidence, to give yourself that love, that courage that's going to be able to let you step out of your fears and into the unknown and into the uncomfortable aspects to be able to do amazing things. So for me, you aren't good enough. Well, I am good enough because I have these ideas and I have these feelings and I have these thoughts, and every single person that I can reach is one person that I'm changing for the better. And that makes me good enough because I can help other people, and I know that I believe that I can do that. You're no one special. Well, I am someone special because God doesn't make mistakes, and God made me, and He made me exactly who I am. Quirks and all, flaws and all, craziness and all. He made me exactly how I am, and He made me with a purpose, and it's my job to fulfill that purpose and to believe in myself. Stop being a crusader because you can't. I'm not going to stop being a crusader because that's my purpose. It's in my heart to help people. It's in my heart to change the world. So I'm going to continue to live by that, and as long as I'm continuing to live in my purpose, then I am loved. I love you, but... there shouldn't be a but. I am good enough to just be loved. How I am, who I am, for what I am. And when I had the courage to write all these things down, the end result of my why this is bullshit was 3 simple words. I am worthy. The end. How I am, who I am, is lovable. What I grew up with, the negative statements, they were wrong. And now finally I'm able to forgive him as well because of two things. One, I believe that everybody does the best that they can with what they have. And I've learned that that's actually what he grew up with from his parents. So it kind of makes me sad. And two, that's part of my purpose. Having those scars, having those wounds, and then having the people brought into my life to be able to help me start the bleeding and the cleansing process to make me better, to allow me to help others, is part of my purpose. And if all of those wounds and all of that hate and all of that anger were not present in my life at the time that it was, then I would not be who I am today. So I'm thankful for them. And when you get to that point, guys, when you get to living from that courage, that's when life really begins. And you can see this amazing, crazy, wide-eyed, beautiful you, quirks and all, and you can give your gifts to the world. Your new life statement, I want you to repeat with me or read this with me. And we're going to put an I at the beginning. So we're going to make this the first person. And we're going to read this every day. It's another one you get to read every day. I refuse to emotionally succumb to the negative events around me. I will tap my mental toughness to thrive in any environment. The good guy doesn't always win, and justice doesn't always prevail. But where I direct my mental energy will always determine my attitude, and it will always be controlled by me. There are so many things outside of our circle of influence. And we can say, well, I can't because of this person, and I can't because of that event, and I can't because that happened, and I can't because I was born like this. Or we can say, okay, well, all of those things are going around, but what I can control is the energy inside me. What I can control is the daily action steps that I take. What I can control is my thinking of how a situation is. And that's what I'm going to take to a positive level to be able to make me better. Ingredient number 5, be mission driven. We have to do the work. You have to do the work. You can have this knowledge. You can have all these things. You can say, oh, Coach Jules, those are awesome. I'm so glad you told me about these things. And if you never apply it, it's never going to be any good for you. So, discipline, the one thing necessary to achieve any goal worth having. So I'm going to ask you something that I want you to think about through these next slides. What comes first? The discipline or the goal? All right, this next slide, you need to know your purpose. Still think about the question that I asked you earlier. What comes first, the discipline or the goal? But know your purpose, and it's got to be your purpose, guys. I can say until I'm blue in the face to someone, okay, you need to get in here, you need to lose weight, you need to start eating right, you're going to live a happier, healthier life, you're going to live a longer life, you're going to be better for your family, for your children, your mood's going to be better, yada, 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 yada. And they can say, okay, because I believe what you're saying, I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'm going to go ahead and jump in. But guess what? It doesn't last and it doesn't work unless they want it. Unless you want it, unless you have a reason for it, unless you have that outstanding why in the back of your head and in the front of your mind all the time pushing you and driving you to do these tough things, you're not going to get very far. So the first step is to create your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want this? She's going to stay in that low plank, half push-up. She wants to quit. Her body wants her to quit. But she's got those 2 little girls watching her, and she wants more than she wants to quit. She wants to show those girls what strength is. Your why has to be greater than your pain. When your why is greater than your pain, you will be able to overcome and achieve anything. You have to do the work, and you have to continue to push yourself through no matter what, because you're going to get tired. But if you're wrestling a gorilla, which you are, it's the gorilla of life, right? All of the challenges, they're so much bigger than us. They're so much stronger than us. They have so much more endurance than we have. But if we quit when we're tired, guess who wins? We're going to be pancaked. The gorilla is going to win every time. So we quit when the gorilla is tired. You quit when you're done. There's a couple of ways to do this. Running, always a challenge for me. I know. I love doing the 5, 10, and the 15K, not so much. Obstacle races, but there's obstacles in between, so it helps break up the running. The running is not my favorite part of those things. But I do the running as a means to an end, okay? It's kind of just the thing that I have to do in order to get to my goal. So what I have discovered are a couple of little tips, a couple of little things to keep me going past the point that I'm tired and I'm ready to quit. So I'm going to do a 45-minute run. 20 minutes in, oh, my legs are burning, my feet are tingling, I'm tired, my breathing's getting labored, it's been 20 minutes and I have 25 more minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm getting bored. How much longer do I have to do this? All of those things are going through my head, right? And with all of that negative energy going into my head, my brain is sending all of these signals to my body to shut it down, to say stop. So I got to stop that. I got to stop that thought process. So the first thing that I do is I say command statement. I say, no, stop, I got this. I'm telling the negative energy to stop. I'm saying, no, I'm not tired. Stop with the negative thought. I got this. And that immediately shuts down that negative energy. It shuts down that negative thought. But now I have to go a step further because I have to continue the positive to myself. So that's where a mantra comes in. A mantra is just a short little jingle. It's a phrase that kind of spins off the tongue in almost a rhythm to keep you going with what you are doing. And it can be whatever. I'm going to give you some of mine. I have a client that she I think it was a really long plank hold that we were doing, and she was just owning it. She was just doing great. And we're like, what are you doing over there? And she says, I'm saying a mantra. So we're like, well, what's your mantra? She said, the Lord's Prayer. So it can be the Lord's Prayer. It can be Psalm 23. It can be whatever it needs to be. But you want to make sure that you do a mantra, something that fits for you, something that works. So a couple of mine, and you're more than welcome to take them and use them. When I'm running, I will start saying to myself, after I say my command statement to stop the negative, I will start saying, every day in every way I'm getting better. Every day in every way I'm getting stronger. And I just keep saying that over and over and over and over again in my head, right? And then next thing I know, the 25 minutes is gone and I'm done. I'm like, oh, cool. How'd that happen? A couple of statements that I'll use on the trail are, don't quit when you're tired, quit when you're done. Don't quit when you're tired, quit when you're done. And that's just to get me to that next obstacle, because that's always my rule, is I just keep running until the next obstacle. And if I look at it like that, instead of looking at it like I have a 10K to run, then I'm able to do it better. So don't quit when I'm tired, quit when I'm done, quit when I get there. And then the other thing, don't stop lest you drown. Don't stop unless you drown. Those are just little jingles that can kind of ring off the tongue really easily and get me through. You need to pick whatever works for you to get you through, and just say it's got to be a positive thing. It can't be negative. It's got to be positive. And something, I mean, you can even say, oh, we just started. Doing great, feeling great. That's another one. Doing great, feeling great. Just to tell yourself, because your brain is trying to protect your body from harm. Right? That's what's really going on. So you have to tell your brain, I'm not in any harm. I'm doing great. This is awesome. Piece of cake. I got this. Okay. So whatever you have to say, don't quit when you're tired. quit when the gorilla's tired. All right, guys, what's next? What's next for you? Because we need to apply this. We can't just let it die. We need to go over this every day. It's practice every single day with all of these steps. Practice, fail. First attempt in learning. Practice loving yourself. Practice believing in yourself. So practice the confidence. Practice being adaptable. Practice going with the punches and getting back up instead of letting them defeat you. Practice courage, doing what scares you, going out on that limb. And practice being mission driven. It's all about practice. And the more that you practice, the more that you apply these things, the better you will get every single day. Find fuel in that empty tank because, guys, this is life. Our tanks will get emptied. We will be drained. We will be done. Find that fuel. That's all mental toughness is finding that fuel to last us. So a couple of helps that I can give. One, if you have not found me on Facebook, friend me. It's julie.keen, KEEHN.7. And then follow me. I try to do encouraging posts on a daily basis to help keep you going. I also have a Coach Jules Facebook page. You're more than welcome to get on that and get whatever tips and goodies that I have from that. After this webinar, you will be directed to a link that will offer you the 5 ingredients ebook and then 2 beginner meditation routines. I didn't talk a lot about meditation, but meditation has been something that's been huge in helping me with so many of the mental side of things. This is only $7 for this entire package, so I definitely think it's worth the investment. The ebook is going to give you these 5 ingredients and some action steps that you can take and apply to your daily life. And it's just something that you can actually have with you, hold in your hand, and utilize on a daily basis. And then I'd encourage you to schedule a transformation session with me. There will also be a link for an application for that, and that's going to have you basically think about where you're at right now with things, with your goals, and where you want to be. And then that'll give us something to talk about, and I can help you create that plan, no matter what that is, in order to help you get to that. Because like I've said numerous times before, knowledge, goals, wanting things, they're great. It's great to have those, but unless you have the action steps and the plan in place, then you're not going to get very far with that. So I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar and you've gotten a lot of good tips and tools to take with you after this. And I wish you the best, and I hope to see you again in some of these other resources.